welcome back to another episode of Misplaced Garage. Well, if you guys missed last video, I recently got this Mazda Miata engine started up. And running. Not well, but running. Now that I've gotten to that point, I'm going to be able to clean up a lot of this spaghetti mess, make sure everything is the way it should be, clean it up, put some lume on it. I have some of this lume left over, and then I bought a bunch more over there just so that I can make sure that the wiring is nice and perfect. And yeah, like I was saying, I'm gonna start cleaning up some of the wiring. Not only the wiring, but some vacuum lines. So this is 3/4. This should be plenty big to wrap the main wiring harness loom in. This should be good to go for that. It's only 10 feet, unfortunately, but I don't even know if this car is 10 feet long, so this should be plenty. Vacuum caps, so since I'm not going to be running a lot of the OEM Mazda stuff, I can open it, I can just go through and cap off a bunch of the lines, and then it should be running pretty good. Well, I was able to remove this length of wire. This is actually like a good 3 feet maybe. Removed it from the harness because I didn't need that much. Soldered them all together, and now they're all the same length and not just like a bunch of random sporadic wires. Still have a lot more to do, but I'm getting there. I think I can remove this wire from the harness because obviously the car runs without it. Figure I'll do a quick progress update. And before, it probably looks a lot different now, but I've cleaned up so much of the wiring. All of it has lume on it. Some of this is temporary, some of it is going to be like that forever. There's not really a good way to run these wires other than kind of how I have them already. Got my igniter mounted down here with a zip tie, temporary until I get longer bolts, but that's where it's going to live for the moment. A lot of the stuff just kind of routed nicely up through the bottom of that, so that stuff's kind of taken care of. I also added a vacuum line cap to that guy and one below it because I don't need either of those. And over here under the dash, I've kind of temporarily got my ECU in a permanent spot. It's only temporary because it's kind of loose still, but that's right there. Wires come up and go through this bulkhead right here. Might be a problem with the transmission tunnel in the future, but it's looking better. I got these two guys are marked up here for ECU and injectors so that I know in the future these are not for the door locks or the power windows. They are indeed for the engine. And now that I've got the engine kind of rewired into the places that it kind of needs to be, I permanently put stuff in a lot of the places. Airbox I think might go over there, I don't know. There's a couple different options I can choose, but that might end up being the best spot right about there. A couple more parts. One of them is a throttle cable, and then I ordered a silicone coupler throat for the throttle body because when I was starting the car, it was taking air in through there, and obviously you don't want any unregistered air going past the airflow meter, so this guy should eliminate that as long as it's big enough. It's kind of looking like it might not be. The throttle cable that I bought is too small. Unfortunately, luckily it was only like $6, so I'm not too worried. I probably can use this on a later project. But I got an idea, and I got to thinking, I have steel cable. I have a bunch more up there, but this would be long enough for what I need, obviously plenty long. And it actually fits inside the diameter of this brake line that I have. I'm thinking I might be able to make something out of that. It's got a little resistance, but it's not like an insane amount of resistance. I bet once I can kind of score the inside of this, it'll probably be exactly what I need. Since I couldn't use that other throttle cable, I took it apart a little bit. I'm gonna utilize this guy because I'll be able to fine tune the adjustments. I threw a nut on the other side, but I think I'd rather eventually weld this to one side of this, and then I can adjust it by spinning this rather than losing all the threads over here, or just weld the nut to it. Either way it would work. And then this guy slides down here. Well, if that doesn't come out, and just like that, it's kind of thrown over this, but that will feed into this little column here, and then it will be able to pull and push kind of deal. That's not the correct fitting there, but once again, I have what I have at the moment. I might just zip tie it on temporarily just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. The copper brake line is not gonna work how I wanted it to. So I have this aluminum fuel line over here that I think will work in place. I bought all the right stuff for it. Let's see if it'll work. Well, I have now once again failed a second time because the aluminum doesn't cooperate with the steel cable very well. It actually slid easier through the copper line versus this larger diameter aluminum line. So, is what it is. I have failed on this, revealing that not everything I do is perfect. And I ordered a Mazda Miata cable, and I'm gonna see if that's long enough and will work with this. I might need to modify it a little bit, but I think it'll work better than what I have going here. So I'm not really liking this huge air box. It would be nice to have the replaceable filter, but it's not gonna fit in this engine bay very well. So I took that guy off, and lo and behold, it's just a single plate like that. So I'm going to cut out a steel plate about that big, and then I should be able to weld something like this onto that steel plate. Throw the filter onto the end of this. This will just be a little piece of metal. And that should be technically all that I need for this to function correctly. And now I've ended up with a piece of metal just about perfect size right here. And I'll be able to use these as a template for where I need to drill my holes. It's not perfect, but it'll work. Now I've successfully made just a block off plate for the intake, so now I gotta figure out how to cut a hole in this. Not sure how yet, but I will figure it out. I don't have a hole saw or drill bit or anything big enough to cut a hole out that size, so I think I'm just gonna cut out the square that's on the inside. I mean, I know it's not real great for airflow, but it'll get the job done. This is starting to look semi-decent. Then I'll be able to take this guy right here, slide it around there like that, goes right on nicely, and then weld this to the plate, and away I go. Along with making my own, or not making my own, throttle cable, I created this guy, Oh, yeah, making a lot of noise. I created this guy. It's kind of a quick and dirty, welded up some tubing to a flat piece of metal. I think I showed you guys, but this is kind of the outcome. My welds weren't perfect and I didn't want to go through and continue just trying to weld up every single possible little hole, so I just put some RTV over the top of it, and that should airtight seal it. Gets rid of that whole box, so now I only need this in the engine bay rather than that guy. I'm not certain that this is going to work with the Triumph gas pedal, but I think it'll be closer than me trying to make my own here. Obviously took off the intake boot, it's down there. I got this guy attached up here. Ran smoothly, it all goes down right where it's supposed to go. I then expanded my hole in the firewall here, plugged that little fitting in there, and it's actually able to connect down here pretty easily. Now I know that's not a great angle in which that steel cable's going, but it's only rubbing on plastic, so I think the plastic will give out before the cable will. And it appears that there's enough throw in it to open the throttle body all the way. I'm gonna ensure that by taking a video or having somebody come out and tell me if it's opening all the way, but I've got a video of it and it looks like it opens basically flat, so I'm thinking that's pretty good.